Hello, 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 all. This is Puermero coming at you with the introductory video of my primary character, Puermero. As you can see, you can notice that I have a one-handed weapon and a shield. He is right now in his protection spec. I just wanted to go over a little briefly like what I got going here on the look. I tried to achieve something that would go good with the guild tabard, which you can see on his chest. This character, with me and two other buddies, we created a guild way back when this game first started. And we decided to go with the name Gladiators of War. We both, the top two peeps, me and my buddy Jared, we both really liked the idea of something black with a yellowish gold tint combination, and we both liked that little Roman look of that icon, and so we just went with that. This particular tabard here is a different look than what it used to be too, because they added new looks. It also had like some kind of to increase your reputation with the guild, because at one point the reputation you had with your guild ultimately unlocked different things you can have as perks with the guild. Also be able to purchase certain items with the guild. Like there was some pets. I think there was only one pet, to be honest. There's a mount, and there's some shirts. There's some items you can use to level up, which I believe I used some of those on other characters. And so ultimately, this is the guild master. I am the guild master of the guild. But the guild was pretty active in the beginning, and then later, I really don't care. Everybody goes their different ways. They pay to play the way they want to. I pay to play the way I want to. Some individuals that were with me to build the guild then later decided, I guess, they wanted to be a little lazy and also lie to me, where they decided, hey, we want to make our own guild. Well, they went and did make their own guild with this silly name. I can't even remember. But then later, come to find out, they piggybacked on one of the biggest guilds in the server that we're on, and just got items without really working for the items in the particular raid content that was going at the time. And I was pretty hurt, pretty upset, but things happened. At that time, everybody was paying their $14.99 a month subscription, or if they were doing the every 6 months lump sum, uh, that's the way they wanted to play. That's fine, cool. My path was different. The way things have been going, I've been more of a solo player. I enjoy myself very much. Just, fiddle-daddling with all kinds of stuff by myself. I mean, I do like the challenge of things by myself. There are things, obviously, you can't do by yourself. So, luckily, the game does have plenty of options to just jump into a random group of some kind. For a dungeon or the raid, which they added that a lot later. The dungeon stuff was introduced first, and then they added the raid stuff later. And so with this guy, one of the other things I wanted to do with him was, since he's the guild leader character, I wanted to represent the guild a little bit more with him than I do with the other characters. And so I went ahead and got this armor set that has a nice glowing yellow to match what's going on. I like the tone of the metal that's visible, and then the way that the brownish, goldish kind of look that's going on other parts of the armor. It just looked nice. Something about this armor set attracted me to it, except for the belt. The belt I have currently does not come from this set. It actually comes from a whole nother set that kind of resembles this set, because this armor is like a refreshed version of something that came out in Burning Crusade way back. which the detail on it is improved. Some of the spikes are improved. The way that there's extra plating sticking out, like on the arms and the legs, that's pretty cool. So I went with that. Then I went with one of the one of my favorite shields. Like something about this shield just tickled my bone so much because of the idea of how that would hurt. Somebody try to hit me, or if I bashed them with my shield, the whole idea that that would hurt. So I kind of wanted to go with a weapon that resembled that as well, with the spikes, to keep the whole spike theme going. And I also gave it like a little goldish glow to it. I don't remember where I found this mace, but I'm glad I had it. And that's got a nice black and yellow, black and goldish kind of look too. So it came out fantastic. And then the back here is a totem that the company was like, hey, we want to change the way people can transmog their cloak. And so one of the first things they did was some kind of backpack thing where you could change your cloak to look like a backpack, so you can look like you're carrying supplies that you need and whatnot. And then the very next cool thing that they did was on Tarns, the race ended up getting a heritage armor set, which the whole armor set looks cool for other specs or other classes besides warrior. I wasn't necessarily into it, but then the totem was obviously a thing I wanted. I wanted this totem on my back. That thing looked awesome. It represents the Tarn race so nicely. And unfortunately, on the character screen here, you don't see an additional totem actually was that I found that I can add to it, because I just didn't want one totem and I wanted to look different amongst any other Tarn throughout the game. And so throughout the content of Legion, they had the reputation of the High Mountain Tarns, where you can get these different types of totems that you carry the item in your bag and then you just click it and then it'll appear on your back. And there was one particular totem that actually worked perfectly with this one, because all the other ones didn't really mesh with this totem except for that one, and I'll show you here in a bit once I get in the game. And that's pretty much the gist of Puermero. Like he was my, the gist of the look. But he's my primary dude. Like he's the one I created way back when the game first started. I don't think I actually started. This is how long it's been since I started playing. I mean, I think I was in the beginning of 2005. This game actually released, I believe it was November of 2004. I didn't really get to start at that point. I never knew anything about World of Warcraft or just Warcraft in general, all those other PC games, because back in the day I wasn't into PCs, nor did I own a PC. I was just, like in the very beginning, obviously, some people start off with I started off with a Nintendo, the old Nintendo. Then I had the Super Nintendo. And then I had the Nintendo 64. And I was like, wow, this is great. Man, this is fun. Which I still own. That 64 still works just fine. And the particular games that I had on it, which at the time, the best games were like Gold 007 GoldenEye was a hot game right there. But I own that plus a Killer Instinct Gold, which was technically the Killer Instinct 2. They just happened to call it Gold for the N64. Which that Killer Instinct franchise from the beginning, from Super NES to 64, I own an NES. And I do own the Killer Instinct. Those two games I really enjoy. I really enjoy that franchise at that point. Didn't get to try any of the new content that they got now for Killer Instinct, the new game. And then from that 64, I went to PlayStation. From PlayStation, PlayStation 2, and then PlayStation 3. The only thing that I really enjoyed during the time of the consoles were, I'm a car guy. I also have car videos that I'm going to end up having on this YouTube channel, which I possess a 1985 Chevrolet Corvette, one of my all-time favorite cars that I wanted to own. Plus, I say that because it was the one financially I can own. My absolute favorite Corvette is the C3 model, which is like 1968 all the way to 1972. Going into 73, I don't care for that change. The changes they did to that car, I didn't really care for at that point in time. So the latest I would go would be 72. And so, but obviously I can't afford that vehicle. My second favorite would have been like a 63 up to 67, the C2 Corvette, but obviously I definitely couldn't afford that. My third favorite happened to be the C4 Corvette. So, liking cars and whatnot, I would also drive a C4 Corvette in these games when they had it. Was like the Gran Turismo franchise. Definitely love that game. Definitely love the realism that the game ended up producing later on in the later entries of the franchise, all the way up until PlayStation 3. PlayStation 3 was my last console that I owned. The other franchise that I enjoy, the only thing that could pull me away from WoW, because there was a brief moment where I stopped playing consoles, got with a friend of mine, hung out with him. I was at his home. He was playing this game. He's like, "Have you ever seen this game?" And I was like, "No, I've never seen anything to do with this game." And he's like, "Yeah, it's called World of Warcraft." He had a great story about it. Like his girlfriend at the time gave him the game as a gift. He downloaded it. Wasn't quite sure at the time why it needed internet, but he just played along with it. And I remember him explaining how he was in the game, and he thought it was an NPC saying things to him, and he's like, "Wow, this seems pretty realistic." In all actuality, he was talking to another player. He had no idea it was an online game. Then he was like, he caught wind of it and everything. He started, and then he introduced me to it, and he was already on a character at that time where I think he was at like level 35, level 38, around in there. And I said, "Man, I really like this game," because I was getting old. It was getting old quick, dealing with console games that didn't have a lot of replayability. You know, you spend, what, 60, $70 for a game, annihilated in 3 days, the most is 2 weeks. It might take you to play a game, and then that's it. Like, what else can you do? There's no extra content. I know console games they're trying now to add extra content. I see that but nothing's pulling me away from World of Warcraft now. Everything's just World of Warcraft since then. But there was one brief moment that, since I still have my PlayStation 3, that the franchise God of War, which I enjoyed thoroughly. Love God of War. That game was just freaking awesome. And sure enough, I had to get the third installment that came out, and I paused World of Warcraft. I took a little break, got on the God of War 3, and did as much as I could on it. And then, just like any other console game that I was playing at the time, it just faded away. I was like, all right, I squeezed as much enjoyment out of that game as I could, put it there in my little archive of console games that I still own them. I still own them. They're still there. I just don't own a PlayStation 3 anymore, sadly. But if I ever do get another console, maybe I'll get my hands on this PlayStation 5. Maybe, just to have one. It'll probably be a lot later after its launch, of course, because of pricing and if there's bugs or anything like that. But the idea is because of the backwards compatibility that it's going to have, I'll be able to just slap in my games that I got for PlayStation 3 and just play, and that's it. But other than that, it's just been World of Warcraft the whole way. Puermero has been it. He was the only character I wanted to play. He was the only character I cared about. I did learn at least about other specs, other classes, what they can do, what they can't do. That made me a better leader in a way, because I remember running groups. I remember doing content that required decent amount of skill. There was certain things that I did that these so-called high-end players couldn't even do. Like, I remember there was this quest line to take your first dungeon set and piece by piece go through a chain of quests, and each few quests you replaced one of the dungeon set 1 pieces of armor into a dungeon set. I called it a dungeon set 2. Some people still call it dungeon 1.5 set. I'm not quite sure what the real solid way of calling the set, but like for a warrior it was called the heroism set. And it was a great set. Like the look of it was nice. I enjoyed it at the time. I didn't stick with it only about so much time during into the Burning Crusade content, and then obviously there was new gear that came around and I had to switch. But it was a hell of an achievement. Really hell of an achievement to get that gear set. I helped other people get that gear set. There was some people that were impressed. There was some people that were like talking out of their butthole, talking about some, oh, that set's not worth it, blah, blah, blah. And the individuals that were saying that it isn't worth it were the individuals that could not do that chain quest. They could not achieve the things that I and the specific individuals that I helped and some of my friends and whatnot could do. There was some oddball stuff too that happened where it's like, oh, hey, guess what, dude? You can't do that run with 2 warriors in your group. And I was like, you're out of your mind, because I just did it. I was the tank. That guy was over there doing damage, and he did damage just fine. So, once Burning Crusade came around, I decided to make another character, but we'll talk about that character after this guy. So, let's go ahead and into the look real quick. As you can see on my back, that is the other totem I was talking about. So that way it looks like I got just 2 great representations of my species of Tarn. That particular totem is I think it was Skyhorn? Yeah, Skyhorn War Harness is what they call the item. And it just looks so cool, man. I really love the double totem thing. You know, because the whole inspiration for double totems is certain characters like this guy over here. This guy, Bane Bloodhoof, as you can see, he's got pretty much like 2 big totems on his back. And they both kind of look the same, and that's the part that I kind of didn't want, is totems kind of looking the same. I do like the 2 totems looking differently. But yeah, that's pretty much when it comes down to looks. Now, when it comes to playstyle, I love warriors in general, period. Like, all the other specs I play, all the other classes I play, they're nice. There's some of them that are like, I think I'll pass. I won't play it too much. And then there's other ones I get enjoyment out of them. But when it comes to being a warrior, that is my absolute go-to favorite class. I just love being a warrior. I just love being that guy. Either I'm a tank where I can protect my peeps. You know, I could just go ahead and you know, protect myself very well. I thoroughly think warriors are still the top end spectrum of tanking. You know, my damage mitigation, most people are like, oh, they don't do too well in spells and stuff like that. They're only really good for physical damage. And I'm like, well, since that's the case, since they're so good at physical damage, then why don't I just up the ante on the areas that I'm weak in? I build on the areas I'm weak at. Which you can see this kind of weird bubble that pops up on me is a particular essence that are in our necklace that we have. And a particular necklace can give you different abilities, which I put in my primary slot. Nullification, Dynamo, and that's strictly magic reduction damage. So I figured, you know, I'll use that. Then I focus a little bit on this one stat called versatility. Versatility reduces the damage that I take by anything. So it's good for physical, but it's also helping me in the sense of I'm getting better absorption through any of the magical stuff that wants to hit me. So I mean, I got better magic damage reduction, just plain and simple. And then on top of that, I went with a route of getting um, this one particular thing is Vision of Perfection. It reduces the cooldown on a maneuver called Avatar. Avatar is a pretty good, strong maneuver that I use often. And also, it gives me some more versatility. So I got versatility there. I got versatility on the Memory of Lucid Dreams, the particular essence that refunds some rage that I spend, heals me, and it increases my versatility. So as a tank, there are times I have to build up my rage to use some of my defensive capabilities. But with that, that gives me an extra 50% back, or chance for, at least a chance for an extra 50% back of that rage. So far, playing this setup, it's been very good. I mean, I do very, very good. I really enjoy the hell out of it, how everything's coming out, the work I've done on this character. This is funny. This Blood Elf has a selfie stick with a selfie camera. Can't believe they put that into the game. But also, which here's my dragon. I love this dragon. It came out not that long ago. As protection goes, I think my output's been doing all right, but there are times I've noticed when it comes to other tanking classes. Let's take one in particular as an example, my Death Knight. The Death Knight can do some pretty simple moves. They're not crazy damage compared to me. I want to say a comparable armor equivalent to me. They do about the same damage, but the threat they produce, where that enemy wants to continuously look at them, is easier on them than it is for a warrior for some reason. I don't quite sure know why. I mean, I go into the mobs and I'm hitting hard and I'm stunning and just hitting and they get a bleed effect, but sometimes depending on who I got in my group, if they have great output, I mean, which some of the problem is they go in there and they hit really hard right off the back. And there's certain DPS that'll hit hard, really hard, right off the bat and pull aggro. So like, let's say as an example, these four dummies here, out of the four, maybe one would look at that particular person doing all that damage, which kind of sucks. I mean, but at least I got my taunt maneuver and I can easily get them back. So I haven't been upset about it. It's just pretty interesting how that works. But that's my tanking setup now. Arms, I've been working on arms lately because that particular essence I was talking about of perfection, as an arms warrior, it changes. As an arms warrior, that Vision of Protection is handling my maneuver called Blade Storm, and it reduces the cooldown, on the minor passive ability. It reduces the cooldown of the maneuver, increases my versatility, and I believe it heals me a little bit when I use the maneuver by 5% of my maximum health. But I got it as a primary because it has a passive ability that while I'm doing damage, I will Blade Storm for about 35% of the base duration of the move. And then when it happens too, it gives me and two other allies in my group. I want to say in my group. I'm not sure if they're out of group, if it give this effect to them. But it'll also give me haste, which is nice as an arms warrior. Haste is pretty good. But the best part about it is that I also got my gear to work around it a little bit. So I got some specific items here. I believe it's just this one for right now, where while I'm blade storming, every zero point 0.9 seconds, I gain 5% extra movement speed and some strength. And then it can stack up to about, I think, only a total of 6 times. So I can, it'll be that amount of strength times 6 when I do the move. When this particular essence procs my move, it procs enough to, I believe, give me 2 stacks easy. So there are times where it'll proc a lot in one particular involvement of a fight. And it's fantastic to have that go off without me touching any other, button. I just have to take regular approaches to fighting someone and hitting them with my regular moves. And then that thing will pop, and then all of a sudden I got this extra strength. And then it'll last for a little bit. I think it'll last about 6 seconds. But let's say 4 seconds go by, pops again, gives me another 2 stacks, and refreshes the timer. So now I got a total of 4 stacks. And then it can pop again, and I'll get all 6. And then I'm really cracking down, hitting everybody hard, and pulling in that damage. And it's fun. It's been very comical in some cases. Which, let's see if I can get it to proc real quick. But I think the best is obviously if I'm hitting multiple targets, it'll probably have an opportunity to go off sooner. But while I'm hitting this, it could just proc. So I'm thinking in PvP, if ever I would want to do PvP, which is on that other warrior, I got it on him. And the other benefit is, let's say there's a particular class that can stop you in your tracks and put a root effect where I cannot move. The thing is, just so long I'm doing something or have an ability doing something on someone, it has the ability to proc. So I got this one bleeding effect that it's called Mortal Wounds, which is a bleeding effect that can be on an enemy. And let's say that enemy stops me and they're running away, and that bleeding effect is still on them. It'll proc that maneuver, and if it does proc my Blade Storm, I instantly get out of the root effect, and I'll gain that little extra speed, and then I come back at him and, put a whooping on that boy. Put a whooping on that girl. I don't care who it is. You're going to get a whooping. So that's something I'm going to have to pretty much try. I'm going to try that out a little bit. So far it ain't procking, so I don't understand. Sometimes that's the problem with things that have a chance to proc. I'm going to go ahead and do the maneuver anyway so you can see what it is. So Blade Storm, it spins, puts mortal wounds on everyone. So every target right now I heard about, they're going to put a cap on how many targets I can hit in the next expansion coming up. Right now I can Blade Storm and hit whatever is near me. Whatever's near me, I am going to hit. And whatever's near me gets hit, they're also going to get the bleeding effect. So, in all retrospect, an armed warrior can do pretty good AoE damage just because of that. Oh, there it goes. So it just Blade a Storm by itself. Plus Whirlwind, I'm doing Whirlwind. This is Whirlwind. That hits anybody nearby. This move, which is called Warbreaker, which I talented. There's a talent that changed the maneuver. Like, the maneuver is actually called Colossal Smash. And by itself, it'll just hit one target. But when you talent into Warbreaker, it replaces the move. And then now it's like, oh, I'm going to hit everybody for that amount of damage. And then I get to deal 30% more damage to all of them. So there are times where I'll do a Warbreaker, and then I'll just follow it up with a Blade Storm, and I can just do gobs of damage just because of that. And so as an arms warrior, it's just been fun. I like arms. I've played Fury. I got that other character with Fury. Fury's fun. I'm not going to say it's not fun. Fury's fun. Fury's pretty simple to play. Arms is pretty simple to play. I think anybody that wants to get into Arms Warrior, I think At first, they're probably not going to get it. I think for the most part, there are going to be people that would lean more towards the Fury. I think a more seasoned player, especially like me, have been around the block. I've been in and out of this Arms Warrior thing going on, and they change it here and there, little tweaks here and there, and so far I'm able to produce good damage. I'm able to do what I need to do, how I need to do it very well. Uh, it's a lot of fun playing my main character. Um, in this content, I know some people have been kind of crapping on this particular expansion. I myself have been having plenty of fun. I mean, I don't get bored. I know some people get bored. I don't see like a wall sometimes where people like they do this, they do that, and then they don't have anything else to do. I don't do that. That's some of the reasons why I make another character here and there, just to play different styles, because you get different enjoyment out of different characters. You get different difficulties out of different classes. Like what I could do as an arms warrior, I might not be able to do as, let's say, an assassination rogue. And then what you could do on a warrior, like with this particular character, I can. Oh my god, I can't take him as an arms warrior. Well, guess what? That's fine. I'll just go into my protection spec. It might take me just a tad longer to kill it, but I know I will kill it, and I will come out of that fight pretty much unscathed because of the type of setup I got going. I can self heal just a tad because there's a stat that they added in the game called Leech, and it's like the damage you do and the healing you do gives you healing. A portion of that is healing. Um, and that's been very nice to set that up that way. I think I got a move where my ignore pain reduces the damage I ignore. So I think it's like half of it I kind of get hit with, and the other half gets absorbed, and I get prevented. And then, but also I have the leech added to it through my gear. Like I got gear that gives me more additional damage absorption through that ability, and then the ability also grants me more leech. Now, as of right now, if I'm not mistaken, I have it on all three of the top items that are called Azurite items that have that particular ability in it. It's called Blood Sport. My helmet's got Blood Sport, my shoulders got Blood Sport, and my chest has it. So all those three stack. So that's that much more mitigation that I get through whether it's physical or magic damage. Doesn't matter. Damage is damage on that, and I get that extra leech. So with that leech going, just so long I'm smacking things up, I get the extra health back from doing the damage. So that's why sometimes it seems like I could come out of a fight unscathed, and on top of that, when I'm in groups and stuff, that it's not that much of a necessity to heal me that much. I have so much mitigation. Like my health pool right now is at 639,880. There are tanks that have way more health. Some of them is just due to the level of the gear. Like there are guys that got better, they got higher item level gear. The higher the item level, the higher the stats. But then there's guys that they lean towards health. Hey, I want to have health. I want to have health. So they'll have a bigger health pool, but they get hit a hell of a lot more than someone like me. And I've proven that multiple times to myself and other individuals. The same goes with the differences between one class to another class. Like I'll bring up the Death Knight again. Now, a Death Knight, I believe, is a class that is a necessity to have a hell of a lot of health because they don't have enough mitigation of the damage as like a warrior does. You know, I can parry, I can do a little dodging, but most of my stuff is blocking, and I block a hell of a lot. I block a hell of a lot of time too. The problem with a Death Knight, they don't have a shield. They can only do a parry. They can only dodge. And the other problem with those two particular things is there is a diminishing return. So the longer they're in a fight, the worse they are. Me, the longer I'm in a fight, I'm still good. I still got my blocking. Let's say I don't have parry and no dodge whatsoever, that's fine. I still got plenty of ways to reduce the damage I'm taking without any cooldowns. Like without using something like there's a particular move I got called Shield Wall. Reduces all damage taken by 40% for 8 seconds. I only use that if there's a ridiculous thing going on. But the way I've been playing, the way I'm built, I've only used that move, I think, a handful of times. And I never really had the necessity to be afraid that I'm going to die. So there's been times, too, where I'll ask a healer, hey, between me and that guy, who'd you have to heal the most? And who'd you have to heal the least? And I've had plenty of healers tell me, dude, I barely have to heal you. And then there's other guys like, oh yeah, I had to throw all kinds of heals to that other guy, and I just do one little quick thing on you, and then that guy over there, I mean, my mana was going. It's, holy crap. And I'm like, that just makes me happy. I just know that I'm building the character properly to be able to deal with any encounter. I don't want to really be a guy that's only good for one thing. Like, hey, this warrior, he's only really good for physical damage. Just all this magic right here is going to crush him. No, I do not want that kind of scenario. And because of the way I've been building this character, I don't experience that. My experience, too, with other healers is they love having me in their group because there's times where people pull extra things. They want me to pull. Go ahead, go loose. You're doing great. And I'll wait on them to tell me, especially the healers, to tell me, hey, dude, feel free to freaking get more stuff, man, because I'm doing nothing over here. Some of them, they just go ahead and do some damage, and maybe they threw the one little occasional heal on me, but we'll run through content like everything's a breeze. People love having me in their groups. So I've been very happy and very fortunate that I've been able to build this character the way I built him and have this much fun. I mean, to me, he looks fantastic, plays fantastic. I'm still getting used to this mouse, though. I got these maneuvers down on the bottom right-hand corner. I don't know if you can tell. That little batch of moves right there are pretty much the mouse buttons that I have on my thumb here. I got 12 buttons on this mouse. And it's going to get some getting used to. So far, I'm starting to get used to it definitely on the warrior. But on certain other classes that definitely have a little more complication to them, like, for example, the Wrestle Shaman and the Holy Pally are like two of the top dogs that have so many spells. They can be offensive and defensive when it comes to, hey, I can heal and I can throw out some damage if I need to, you know. And then there's some synergy on certain spells. I know the Holy Paladin's a little bit more synergy than the Resto Shaman. I believe there's like, if you do this particular damaging move, it'll help you have this move pop up sooner so you can heal and then blah, blah, blah. So it's been very interesting to get things going on that. And yeah, I mean, that's it, man. That's my warrior. This is me. This is Puermero. Also, a little quick story on the name Puermero. I am Puermero. Like, this guy has the name, but me, myself, and I, that is who I am. I am Puermero. I've been calling myself that because that name pertains to things that are about me. So I'll explain. The first 4 letters of the name, the P-U-E-R, are actually taken from Puerto Rico. So Puerto Rico, I'm part Puerto. I'm half Puerto Rican, half white. I don't know what mama side I got, but mama white, and my dad's straight from the island, born, but he moved to the United States, and he's also my personal United States Army veteran. Which that's another reason I'm doing this video is I'm also do a shout out to my dad for allowing me, someone like me, and all these other individuals like me, to be able to just sit here in this country, even though it's kind of weird with some people. They act this way and other people act that way, whatever. To each his own, you know. Most people learn through experience. There's other people, they'll say things, but they haven't experienced things. Big deal. Big whoop. I know there's other people that would get mad at them. I'm not mad at them. I mean, I could be sad for them, but that's them. Here's me. More power to them, however they want to deal with our veterans. I mean, it's in some cases I know it can be disrespectful in a way, but they'll learn in different ways. Everybody learns in different ways, and they might come around and have an explanation for their ways. There are people that have an explanation for their way, like their way of thinking or whatever. So, with me though, I'm very thankful for my dad, being who he is, being what he's done for me. What things I've been able to do for him has contributed to what he's been able to do for me. The same goes with my mom. My mom is technically also a veteran. I'm not sure if she saw. I know my dad didn't see combat, but he did get to see these particular body bags that came around. I mean, it's that puts a number in your head. You know, that does something to you. I'm just glad it didn't really mess him up too bad. I love him to death, and that's the reason why I enjoy doing what I'm gonna try to do this YouTube stuff. Not too hardcore. I'm just gonna throw a video here and there. So, being Puerto Rican, that's the first half of my name, and that's the reason I did that is because I wanted to represent that part of me. And the other part, like for example, in the middle there's an M, and then there's a ERO is the rest of the name. The M is actually the first letter of my last name, Mulero. Mulero is my spelling of my last name. And this took me a bit to make this name way back. I was like, all right, I'll put Puer, P-E-R, Puer, per. Let's do like a per. Let's make it like sound like it's Puermero. So the ERO is the last three letters of my last name. So that's pretty much it. Is Puerto Rico in my last name, or what makes up my name on this character and myself. So I'm proud of that name. I really enjoy that name. There are people that they'll know me by Puermero way before they know me by my real name. And even though if they know my real name, they'll still call me, they'll say Puer for sure. Hey, Puer. Give me a hand, Puer. What's up, dude? Hey, Puer. Like some of my closest friends will call me Anthony. My mama calls me Anthony, which cracks me up every time she does that. But yeah, that's my name. This is my character. I am very happy to leave you be right there, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.